All right, who's ready to look at some common Magic the Gathering cards and see if they're good for Pauper? I know I am. Start with Lumen Grid Drake. It's 3 and a blue for a 2/2 Drake. It's got flying, and it also has Metalcraft. When this creature enters, if you control 3 or more artifacts, return target creature to its owner's hand. Costs a little too much. Doesn't do quite enough. I mean, it's an unsummon on a Windrake. You know, do you want to? Is Unsummon and Windrake good enough together that you'd pay both of their costs for one card? I'm not sure. And also, you have to have a bunch of artifacts on the board, but this thing is not an artifact, so it's not helping to trigger the next one that you play. If you're playing a deck that has Metalcraft in Pauper, you're probably playing something that's more affinity based. And if you're playing something affinity based, you can do much faster plays than this. So this is pretty bad. I will give it a. I'll give it like a 2.1. It does fly. It's a flying 2/2, but costing 4 is out of the question. If this thing costs 3, it would still be bad, but we could have more of a conversation. If this thing costs 2, oh boy. But it does not. It very much does not. So we'll move on. Doc Ox Henchman is 2 and a blue for a 2/1 human villain. It's got flash, and whenever this creature attacks, it connives. It's kind of not bad. The flash is nice, so you're gonna get this down, I guess, like on turn 3, on your opponent's end step, and then you get to attack with this guy the next turn. So you draw the card, you discard the card. If you discard the non-land card for the connive, you make it a 3/2. If it survives that, you potentially get a 4/3, and it just keeps growing from there. I mean, it's pretty vanilla. Other than that, even if it gets bigger, it's not really doing a whole lot with that. By turn 3, your opponent probably has something with 2 power that could block this to begin with. So maybe the flash is more about it coming in as a surprise blocker, potentially. I still don't think it's all that great for that. This thing would need to cost 1 less to really make this work. As it is, I think it's just a bit of an underpowered limited card. And for that, let's go ahead and give this... do I like it better than that Drake? No, I don't think I do. Let's give this a 1.9. Moving on to Kill Shot. 2 and a white for an instant. Destroy target attacking creature. 3 mana for this effect, huh? It is target attacking creature, not target tapped creature. White does a lot of stuff with taking out tapped creatures as well. Vengeance style effects and things like that. 3 mana to destroy a creature isn't great, but it's not the worst. I think you'll be able to play this quite often. But would you? Like, you'll definitely get opportunities to play this against your opponent's creatures. I don't know if 3 mana is necessarily worth it for a kill spell. I mean, black has murder for 3 mana, which just kills any creature, tapped, attacking, whatever. And that never gets played. Like, there's just too many other good excuse me, too many other good destroy kill spells. And I think white even has a good handful of ones that would take out most of the stuff you're caring about. Instant speed is nice, but I think Journey to Nowhere, to exile the creature under that would be that gets played more often than just a straight up destroy spell in white that I see anyway. It's not terrible. Like, it's a halfway decent removal spell. I just don't think we're in a meta that allows for something like this, and I don't think we ever will be, considering the amount of cards that are in the format. Still a halfway decent removal spell. Let's give this thing a 3.2. Unnatural Endurance is a single black mana for an instant. It has Devoid, so even though you're paying the black mana, this card itself has no color. Target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn and regenerate it. As a single mana protection spell, that's okay. I think black has a couple other ones that aren't too bad. I don't know if they're in common though. Like Not Dead After All. I think that one actually costs 2. There's a couple other ones that do something similar. Regenerate is an interesting ability. You know, when this creature dies, or if this creature would take lethal damage or something like that, you tap it, you remove it from combat, and it lives. So like it gets like a damage shield at that point, and it heals up itself. So regenerate's not too bad. They don't really use it all that much in excuse me. Ooh, hello. They don't use it too much in design anymore. I think they've found just other abilities, indestructible, and other things that they've shield counters and things like that they just kind of don't use regenerate it as much anymore. But as something that boosts your power at instant speed, could be like a tricky combat thing. Regenerating your own creature, maybe you get the trade, but you don't really have to trade because your creature lives. I've seen worse. I've seen worse for sure, and I don't hate it. I just don't know if it has enough value to really see play. I'll give this a 3.6. I think it's the best card we've seen today so far, for sure. Thermokarst, I'm sorry, is 1 and double green for a sorcery. Destroy target land. If that land was a snow land, you gain 1 life. This is good. This is a good card. It does annoy me that I guess it's not as bad with Ice Age. They didn't have different colored set symbols for the different rarities. So it looks like a common card because it's only black and white on the set symbol for here. But then it got reprinted at common in an online set. So this is now Pauper legal, even though the only one available to buy in paper is uncommon, which I don't love. Anyway, this card gets played. You know, Gruul Ponza or any kind of Ponza style deck that is looking to destroy lands. This is a relatively cheap destroy land effect. And, occasionally snowlands get played in Pauper. So having the slight bonus of destroying a snowland to gain a life is kind of cool. But, this gets played. It gets played only in the one deck, but it gets played in that one deck and does some decent work there. I will give this a... Although, I will give you a little bit of pause that this is destroy target land. So if you are trying to destroy your opponent's lands, there are many of the bridges, the indestructible artifact lands, are not going to be affected by this at all. That's Cleansing Wildfire is such a good deck because you're destroying your own lands, but your own lands are oftentimes indestructible to the point that you get the bonus land, you draw the card, but you don't lose the land you have. And Thermokarst is trying to destroy those lands, and if your lands can't be destroyed, Thermokarst is a dead card in your hand. And those bridges are very popular. They're artifact lands, so they deal with they get put into affinity. Like I said, in the wildfire decks, they get put on all over the place there. They're just kind of a useful form of fixing. Having a land that's indestructible is just kind of nice. Some decks will just play it because it's an indestructible land. And that dampens Thermokarst's usefulness, but it's not every deck plays it, and even the decks that do play the artifact lands can't play all just artifact lands because that has its own issues. So it's not Thermokarst isn't too bad. Again, it only really goes in the one deck, so It's certainly not going to get a bunch of bonus points because it's not like an all-star in every deck, but it is a good card in the deck that it's in. And for that, we will give it a 5.6. 5.6 seems fair to me. Next card, Wirewood Savage is 2 and a green for a 2/2 elf. When a beast enters, you may draw a card. I guess we'll put on our what am I doing? We'll put on our detective hats here and see how many do we. I mean, it's green, so we probably should be checking green, but yeah, we'll just do with that. Let's say beasts in Pauper. There's going to be a decent amount of them. How many do we think there are? How many beasts do we think there are in Pauper? I'm going to say plenty. I'm going to say there's going to be like 200. 216. Look at that. We'll give like a quick view of some of these. Actually, let's go by color, and then go by descending. Yeah, descending, so we can see some of these first. So not too worried about some of these. Teamer Tawnyback's not terrible with this. The Warp Tusker could be okay. It costs a lot, but if you're drawing a card as well, that's pretty good. Specifically looking for like more green ones here. I forgot the Bogle's a beast. That's interesting. Anything we're really excited about? Grazer's a beast. That's kind of an interesting one. For something that I've seen get played a lot. Like, what are the really common beasts that get played in Pauper? This guy looks rad. Just the art on that guy is pretty good. Fangren Marauder. That is a very played Pauper card. That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one. Might be. I think Gnarlid Colony's interesting as well. Like with having the trample for cards with +1 + counters on it. But not a ton of stuff. I really like the Croson Tusker, but it is not a particularly good card. Yeah, I'm not seeing a bunch of stuff that gets me excited. That makes me go, oh yeah, beasts are absolutely playable in Pauper at this point. Like, yeah, I'm just not. I think there's certainly stuff that you could play, but I don't know if there's enough to really make that worth it. Let's get back here. So drawing a card when a creature enters the battlefield is pretty cool. There's certainly a lot of elves and elf decks, but you're not playing this in elf decks because you need beasts. And I don't know. It's a neat card, but I don't think there's quite enough synergy with it. It's something that could get better over time if we get a lot of really good beasts, but I think we've actually slowed down on the number of beasts we get in sets in modernish Magic. Contemporary Magic. I don't want to say modern because that has its own connotations in Magic, but I don't think we print as many beasts as we have in the past, and for that, I think this gets dinged a little bit and will continue to not be a super played card. Let's give it a 2.4. Outlaw's Fury is 2 in red for an instant. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. If you control an outlaw, exile the top card of your library, and until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. Outlaws are assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks. +2/+0 to all your creatures isn't bad. We have effects like that at common in the Pauper format. In red, there are plenty of them for sure. This one tries to give you a little extra gravy by drawing a card the red way. It is nice that you can play it until your next turn, so you have until the end of your next turn. I mean, so if you're spending all your mana on this spell, next turn you'll have the card to do something with. My problem with these cards, and I think we mentioned one a while ago, but the problem I have with these cards is that if I'm giving all my creatures +2/+0, I want that to be a finisher. I want that to be the last card I play, and then murder the opponent. So I don't care so much that I'm exiling a card and having card advantage for the next turn. I don't want there to be a next turn. I want this to be it. So why would I pay more for an effect that is going to extend the game, or an effect that is me considering the game being extended, when I would rather pay a cheaper cost and have the game end earlier? That's where I'm thinking, and that means this card loses some of its value. Sure, you could play this in the middle of a game and do a bunch of damage and then clean them up better the next turn. I just think I think the effectiveness of cards like these is putting it down as this finisher, game over, you can't do anything more about it, done. And this card doesn't do that as effectively as some of the other cards that do this similar kind of effect. Let's give this a 2.2. Aven Augur is 3 and a blue for a 2/2 flying bird wizard. You can sacrifice this creature to return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hands. Activate only during your upkeep. Oh, that's such a bummer. That kills it. That kills that card dead. I was gonna say this is kind of cool as something that could be a that bounce your own stuff back, but also bounce one of your opponent's things. Like it could be kind of like a runaway together, but stapled on a 2/2 body that flies. So maybe you get in for a couple rounds of damage before you end up doing that. Like 4 mana seems like a lot of mana for a 2/2 flyer. We've already seen a 4 mana 2/2 flyer in blue so far this episode, and we thought it was pretty bad. This one could have been really good. It's also in Future Sight. I love this block, but only being able to do it on your upkeep really sours me on this. Like you'd have to do this before you get a chance to attack, and I'm sure that's why they built it this way. You don't want to give yourself the opportunity to do 2 damage and then pop 2 of your opponent's creatures. That's I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I don't know if I would have 100% loved it if you could just do it at instant speed at any time. But certainly would have liked it more than I like this. I don't like this much at all. 2. Just a 2. Riptide Biologist. Funny that we got this and the Wirewood Savage in the same one. Riptide Biologist is 1 and a blue for a 1/2 human wizard. It has protection from beasts, and it also can morph for 3. So you're 2 and a blue. I mean, so you cast it as a morph as a 2/2 face down for 2 or for 3, and you can pay more than its mana cost to flip this over, so it can do less damage. I suppose this is, back in Onslaught when this card was made, that has a lot of beast synergies. The Wirewood Savage was also from Onslaught, so that makes some sense. There were a whole lot of beasts in that set. But still, paying more than what the card normally costs, and kind of paying more twice. The morph to get it down, and then the morph cost to flip it over. That's a lot for a guy that is going to basically just be able to block your opponent's beasts, or I suppose swing in unimpeded from your opponent's beasts. But again, we just looked through all the beasts in Pauper, not all of them, but we looked through the green ones anyway, and there weren't a whole lot that like appeared and went, oh yeah, absolutely, there's a beast deck in Pauper. I don't think there really is. So Riptide Biologist is even worse than a card that synergizes with beast, because now it wants to synergize with something that your opponents aren't playing. This is really bad in that consideration. It was probably halfway decent in limited, where you could stop a lot of damage, or maybe even get through if you put some if you like Voltron this guy up and then swing into your opponents who are playing a lot of beasts. Maybe it would have been pretty good then. definitely not for a format like Pauper that is so diverse and is not playing many beast cards. We give this a 1. It's really bad for Pauper. I like the art, I like the idea, but no, bad card. Is this it? This is our last card. It's Coral Reef from Homelands, so it's got to be good, right? Coral Reef is double blue for an enchantment. It says this enchantment enters with 4 polyp counters on it. Sacrifice an island, put 2 polyp counters on this enchantment. Love it already. You can pay a blue, tap an untapped blue creature you control, and remove a polyp counter from this enchantment to put a +0/+1 counter on target creature. Oh boy. All right, so this is so bad. This is so incredibly bad. You So you don't actually tap this, so you could do this multiple times a turn, but you have to tap an untapped blue creature as well. So if you only have one creature and you're trying to load it up with these counters, you have to tap the creature so it can't block, but you're adding more toughness to it. I understand that's why they built the card this way, is they don't want you to abuse this ability, but this is not an ability that can really be abused. It's pretty bad. It uses +0/+1 counters. Not even a counter type we use anymore, because it's bad. This is a terrible card. This is a 1. This is a 0. If I could give it a 0, I'd give it a 0. But it's the lowest score we give are 1s. So, woof. That's bad. I'm gonna do a bonus card just so we don't have to look at this card anymore. Lash of the Balrog is a single black mana for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you either can sacrifice a creature or pay 4 to destroy target creature. We've seen some of these in the past, right? What is Eaten Alive? Eaten Alive, additional cost, sack a creature, pay 4, but 3 in a black. You know, if you're playing in black, you can probably pay the extra pip of black. That exiles a target creature or planeswalker. Planeswalker part doesn't matter, of course. So, like, who's to say which one of these is better? I mean, the exile is a little bit nicer, paying. I mean, you're ideally you're never paying the extra mana cost. You're sacking a creature for this, so in that instance, both of those are essentially the same. I think I would play Eaten Alive over Lash of the Balrog almost every time. I swear there's one of these kinds of effects that happens at instant speed, but I just can't think of it off the top of my head. But I don't really love this. I don't like this too much. Again, you have Eaten Alive, which in a lot of ways feels like a strict upgrade on this one, which means this really sees no play, and Eaten Alive doesn't really see any play either. So, actually, Bone Shards. Is Bone Shards the one I'm thinking of? Sack a creature, discard a card. It's also at sorcery speed, but it destroys. But you can also discard a card with that. So the discarding's a little better, I guess. Anyway, what you're hearing is that there's a couple of cards that are better than this. The effect's not bad though. I think you could give this like a 2.4, I guess. But again, don't get it twisted. Do not play this card because there's just better options available to you. All right, that is enough for today. We will catch you next time. See you then.